Hey guys, welcome back. I have another knife in for a review or overview, or a video at least. And as you can see, this is a Kizer model. And if you haven't heard of Kizer, they are a knife manufacturer out of China. So this is actually a pass around, and I'll talk about that in a sec. But this model is the Kizer Cutlery Klecker design, and the full name or the identification number is KI4411F2. That's Kilo India 4411 Foxtrot 2. So anyways, if you wanted to look it up or check prices, you can do that. Anyhow, let's just briefly kind of give a quick overview of the knife in the first 3 minutes, which is the longest that most people watch, and then I'll go into kind of breaking it down, talking about my thoughts and impressions and everything else after that. So this Kizer model comes in with a blade length of just about 4 inches, and it utilizes a stonewash finish. And the handle comes in at just over 4 inches. It's like 4.1 inches. So you're looking at just a bit over 8 inches for the total knife. It's obviously a bit wide. It does employ titanium liners. And the blade is CPM S35VN. And they do in fact use CPM. It is not another steel. There was a crucible sales rep that actually corresponded with someone on the forums and verified that Kizer does in fact buy that steel from them. So as far as anyone's guess, that is in fact S35VN. Handle uses a grippy, super ultra grippy G10. It's green, utilizes a titanium backspacer with stainless steel standoffs, and it uses a titanium pocket clip, which is quite small, discreet, doesn't bother the hand. This is a hard use knife, excellent for field work, possibly soldiers. This would work very well in a gloved roll due to the grippy nature and the wide handle. If you do a lot of work with gloves on, fantastic. I know a lot of people use this as a skinning knife, or at least a few people have mentioned that on the forums. Uses phosphor bronze washers. It is extremely smooth for phosphor bronze washers. And the titanium liner lock is without stick whatsoever, despite how hard you flip it. So that was pretty dang hard. Used a wrist flick and nothing. You could hear absolutely no stickiness whatsoever. Impressive. Build quality is fantastic. I would highly recommend that you buy one. This comes in the low 100s, so it's a great value. It is made in China. If you don't like that, don't buy one. If that is not a deciding factor for you to buy a knife, then it's definitely worth checking out in our global economy. So that's pretty much the short and skinny. One quick size comparison. Here's a line steel SR1. One person had asked to see this in relation to the blade shape. Similar, I suppose. And then the size is fairly comparable as well. Obviously this is rounded on all sides, so it's smoother. It's also a bit slipperier, if that's a word. And this one's a bit more boxy, a bit more squarish. So this one's a bit harder on the hand, but again, you're not gonna slip on that G10. It is tremendously rough, which is good for some applications. So there we are. There's the SR1. Camera angle can be a bit deceiving, so let's put this one in front. It is longer. I mean, this is pretty comparable right here. So there's the SR1, and then we have Spyderco Tenacious, also a Chinese-produced knife, also using green G10, much smaller, much less expensive. There is a huge quality difference between the two, which is noticeable considering this is a low 40s and this is the low 100s. So anyways, that's the short and skinny. If that's all you wanted to see, there you go. For anyone else who wants to stick around, let's talk about a little bit more. So Kizer Cutlery is fairly new on the knife scene. Again, they are produced in China, and this company is kind of new on the market. They've met with a lot of criticism due to the fiasco with Tim Britton. As far as I've heard, as far as I'm aware, they did in fact produce I think the model is the Tango. They sold it to Tim Britton, and then he modifies it and sells it as a customer mid-tech. I don't know what he's calling it now. But anyways, he wasn't selling enough to retain the exclusivity rights, and so he lost those, and then he accused them of stealing. And that is as far as I have heard. I believe that's the general consensus. You may not agree with that. I could be wrong, but that's the last I've heard of it. So, again, new on the knife scene. They're quite popular right now for a lot of their titanium frame locks, especially flippers, and they do use phosphor bronze washers. They are coming out with a few bearing models this summer, they have projected. So anyhow, so this is a pass-around model. Essentially what happens is if you are a forum member and you're a paying member and you have X number of posts and you sign up early enough, then you can basically get this for a week and then you ship it off to the next person at your expense, and you get to kind of play with it, use it, test it, see how you like it. Whoever got it before me, you can see they were doing essentially some reprofile work. So this is a really nice stonewash right here, and then down here it's a bit more satin because they took off a bit of steel. The first thing I did when I got it was strop it. So you can see it's got a little bit of a mirror edge on there, but it's fine. It cuts very well. I wouldn't be able to tell you if it's in fact S35EN, but again, the sales rep for that company did verify that they do sell that steel to Kizer in China. So one of the things that I heard was that China didn't have the capabilities to heat treat and properly use those higher end steels, which is why a lot of companies, Spyderco and Kershaw and CRKT, that's why they all use steels like 8CR13 MOV, and a few of the others, the Sandvik that Kershaw developed, which was the 14C28N. But apparently Kizer has invested in the materials necessary and in the processes necessary to heat treat high-end steel, powdered metallurgy, the really good stuff in it. And really, it was only a matter of time before, kind of China jumps on board. Their economy is growing at a very rapid pace, and they are acquiring expensive items. Just as an interesting thought, I remember I was watching a special on the Bentley factory, and they had actually said that China is on track to become the largest consumer of Bentleys in the next 4 years. And when you take a Bentley and you tax it and you do everything it needs to do before it goes to China, by the time it hits China, it's about $640,000 US dollars. And they're on track to become the biggest consumer. So obviously there's money over there. There's a lot going on. When you have an affluent nation, then hobbies follow. People are willing to spend money on things like high-end knives. Russia has become a very large consumer of custom U.S.-made knives, and there are some custom knife makers who are on retainer to wealthy individuals in China or in Russia to produce specifically for them. Then there's also Shirogorov. So I simply kind of talk about that as an example that you can't just say that everything that comes out of China is crap, and it will not be the case in the future. Definitely not. They're going to start producing some very high-end things probably in the next 10 years. And the US will always kind of be the premier knife market because we have always been. And you might have individuals in China who are willing to pay top dollar to import US talent, just as is happening in Russia. So that might be the next big boom in the knife market when we see prices start to climb again, is when China comes on board and they start importing all of them. So anyways, let's get back to the knife. As I mentioned, this is G10. It's kind of a diamond pattern, but this is super, super grippy. It could probably tear up your pants, but it would work really well if your hands were wet or covered in blood. If you're using this maybe as a skinner, then this would be fantastic. It does utilize a proprietary pivot, which they're going to do away with on the next couple of batches. I really like proprietary pivots. I think it adds something nice. It's a beautiful design element, but you can't adjust it. When the knife came to me, it did have a tiny bit of side-to-side play, so I took some pliers and very carefully I tried to tighten down on this side, and it did remove the side-to-side play, but I didn't crank down too much. I don't want to scratch up the pivot too badly. So anyhow, blade centering is favoring the right side just a tiny bit, but again, I can't adjust the pivot to mess with it, try to get it centered, but you know, it's pretty close. Like, it's definitely acceptable. This wouldn't bother me if it was my own knife, but it's not perfect without being able to adjust the pivot, which I can't do. Smoothness is exceptional. I mean, it's an extremely smooth knife. Let's see if I can get past the detent and kind of shake it in that. Hard to see from that angle, but yeah. Anyways, it's very smooth. You'll have to take my word for it. It's as smooth as my Gale Bradley. It's as smooth as my Chris Reeve Umnumzon. Yes, I did make that comparison. So quality is very good. Jimping is nice and strong back here. You'll get a nice purchase. The finger choil is good. The titanium lock bar does not get in the way. And then there's a little bit of jimping on the titanium lock bar, which kind of helps trap your finger in there a little bit. So that's good. Very large lanyard hole. One thing I really like is the back spacer. You have this really nice titanium back spacer, partially enclosed with these 3 stainless steel standoffs, and the standoffs are completely unnecessary, but it's a really nice design element. I think it adds a touch of style to an otherwise user knife. So this was designed by Klecker, and I didn't have the chance to speak with him, but it would have been interesting to hear his input on the knife design. But again, it's very utilitarian. This would be a good field knife. Here is the thumb stud. As you can see, it matches the design of the pivot, which is nice, provides plenty of grip. It protrudes far enough that you can get a nice purchase on it, and it's far enough away from the liners that you can get in there, probably with a glove too. So, reverse grip, moderately comfortable. The titanium wouldn't fare too well to impact, but you know, if you needed to use it as a non-lethal impact, that would hurt. It would work. Again, it might warp the titanium a bit. I've never tried it. I'm not going to try it. Pocket clip. Titanium, good retention. They put a little bit of design flair in with these little notches cut out. Visually, it's underwhelming. It doesn't match the size of the knife at all. It looks a little bit out of place, but in use, when the knife is in your hand and you wrap around it, you can't even tell it's there. It's like a knife without a pocket clip. So again, that goes back to this being an excellent user and not so much pocket jewelry. I mean, this knife was built to be used, and it's in the price point where you won't feel bad about it. So pocket clip, it's kind of a home run in the fact that it works so well and it doesn't get in the hand for hard use. But again, visually underwhelming. Let's see, warranty. I believe they have, I don't remember the warranty right now, but essentially you cannot take it apart. That's one of the stipulations, as a few people have found out. But hopefully you won't need to. You might need to tighten the pivot, but that's about it. They are setting up a distribution point in California. So if you need to set it in for warranty or repair, they can handle that there. I don't know that they'll actually do repair, but what they will have is a bunch more in stock. So if they get it, they deem that it needs to be replaced, then you won't have to ship overseas to China, which is a huge benefit. So that is underway now. I think the guy's name is David from Kizer, said that they're currently setting that up in California, which will make it much better for all the US-based guys to deal with. So anyways, I mean, that's pretty much the rundown of this knife. I would give it a very solid 8 out of 10 as far as quality, components, build, design. If it had a serviceable pivot, which it will on the next models, that would bump it up to a 9 out of 10. But, you know, honestly, based on this one and the quality and the feel, the fit, the finish, I would not hesitate to pick up a Kizer in the future. Almost all of the reviews, I'd say more than 90%, have come back very positive on individuals who have bought or used or handled some of the Kizer knives. And I think they're going to get better. One of the big issues that I've had is a lot of their knives have had I prefer tip up pocket carry, and most of theirs are tip down. But they are correcting that on future models coming out, along with the bearings this summer. So, yeah, I guess that's about it. Anyways, check them out. Some of the knife shops are starting to carry them now. And yeah. So, Kizer Cutlery, Glenn Klecker design, and outstanding fit finish materials, hard use knife. My preference would have been one of the titanium flippers, but you know, you get what you get. Beggars can't be choosers, and this is a pass around model. So in the future I may pick one up, and if so, I will do another review. So comments, questions, please put them below. Thanks for watching. Take care.